And check out the RCWR Show with Lee Sanders. Get fun, in-depth coverage and analysis from the latest in professional wrestling in AEW, WWE, NWA, Impact Wrestling, or the world of entertainment. From hit TV shows to your favorite sports like the NBA or NFL. All things music, movies, and beyond, while trying to make sense of this crazy world we live in. All while keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive since 2011. And now your host, live from the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
What's going on, everybody? Lee Sanders with you guys for this special Saturday Night Live edition of the RCWR show for January 31st, 2026. I love when we do the Saturday night specials because it feels like it doesn't really come often enough, at least for my personal taste. I don't know, it could be just me, but we are on for very good reason as WWE Royal Rumble is in the books. The road to WrestleMania officially begins. I gotta say, there were some things that WWE did right where I nodded in approval, and then there were some things I looked at and said, my God, what are you guys thinking? And then other areas where I just went, dudes, what the hell? You guys were this close. You had the perfect recipe and you blew it. You messed it up. Sound off. Let me know what you thought about tonight's Royal Rumble. You can sound off a number of ways. If you're tuning in for this next little bit, I'll be live. You can drop a comment below as we are streaming live on multiple platforms right now. You can also interact on our poll for you X/Twitter lovers at the RCWR show. Wanting to know what you guys had thought about tonight's Royal Rumble event. But I gotta tell you, man, you're just thinking about that Triple H booking, and it doesn't help when you watch the first two seasons of WWE Unreal. You just can't help but really go, man, has Triple H Paul Levesque really reached his peak creatively as head booker and everything of WWE? Is it maybe time that we see some other people maybe step into play and he has a little bit more of a reduced role, so to speak? Because this Royal Rumble, again, a lot of things you just kind of nodded your head in approval, but just overall you went, meh. And it was all said and done. I did check out the 2-hour kickoff show. Ooh, not too shabby. I thought that Big E did a great job as usual. CM Punk was actually a special guest. For those of you that maybe skipped out on kickoff, you missed out on CM Punk. He was there for both 2 hours of the kickoff special. I saw that at one point the highest peak audience for YouTube for the kickoff live stream hit about 90 to 94,000 strong. That's pretty good. Meanwhile, the X/Twitter stream had just a little bit under 20,000. So not really too shabby. All said and done, not really too shabby. I mean, you go to that YouTube stream, and definitely at one point they did hit 100K, but it seemed like the regular norm for the YouTube stream was about 94,000, all said and done. But great job by Big E. Great job by CM Punk. Michael Cole, of course, helping kick things off with that first hour and everything. Very good. Lord only knows that guy probably needs a lot of rest after calling all the action and everything. This was a pretty long event. It started at 2 p.m. Eastern over here on the East Coast in the United States, before our friends over on the West Coast started at 11 a.m. to my people in Saudi Arabia. And we have had nothing but great support from listeners in Saudi Arabia over the years. It goes as far back as when we first started doing this show back in 2011, and we were covering the WWE product from just that point all the way to now. Saudi Arabia has always given me a lot of love. And so I definitely was to the moon and back happy for them that they got to experience a premium live event at a normal time. Yeah, basically, it's what is it? It was probably somewhere between 7, 8 p.m. for them when they started. Because I know right before the event ended, I remember hearing Michael Cole say, "Hey, look, right here, right now, it's like 2 in the morning in Saudi Arabia." So you're like, wow, it's the little things that we North American fans we take for granted with folks that's checking out the same content that we like from overseas and not even stopping and thinking for a second what time it must be at their end, how late are they staying up to watch some of these live events that sometimes we really do take for granted and everything. So, from a production standpoint, I thought the way the stage was set up was beautiful. Baffling to hear that this arena in Riyadh that was put together was basically done in under a month. I'm just hearing that and my mind is just blown. Shout out to Byron Saxton who revealed some really great context during the kickoff. He apparently was riding with his Uber driver to the arena, and the Uber driver was not even aware. Like, this is how fresh it is. This arena is like just so damn new. Like, not even some of the Uber drivers knew that this thing was put into existence. And this driver was telling Byron, wow, yeah, this was not here a month ago. This is insane. So, and they showed WWE, they showed fast forward real time footage. They just sped it up by like 10 times or whatever from when it was just nothing but a parking lot. And then they were able to turn it into this really cool outdoor arena. And you're just going, wow, that is beautiful. Now, of course, and we'll talk a lot more about this on the Monday night show after Raw goes off the air on Netflix. But there is some questionable things that's coming about regards to that arena that was built. I think it was the good folks over at WrestleNomics, and I believe maybe PW Insider kind of picked up on the report as well. But there is questions concerning labor, whether or not some violations may have been may have been at the core of this arena being built. Some even wonder if child labor, to an extent, was maybe used. So I'm very, very curious. I will definitely talk more about it on the Monday night show. I don't want to do it here on this show and everything, rightfully so. Not unless you guys want to go in that direction, you want to talk about it, then I'll leave it up to you. But for all intents and purposes, I'd rather bring it up on the Monday night show. It's interesting because WWE kept saying sold out, sold out, sold out. And when you're looking at this Royal Rumble event throughout the hours, you're going, wait a minute, is this really sold out? Because it just seems like there's a decent amount of empty seats here in attendance. What's the real deal here? Because this looks a little suspicious. And then it also didn't help. Everything really kind of kicked off with this particular arena because this was our second time seeing this arena. Want to make sure we let that be crystal clear. This was the second time that we were seeing the arena. The first time that we got a taste of this arena was SmackDown from Friday night. I know a lot of you guys usually will skip SmackDown, especially the night before a pay per view or the weekend before a pay per view. But if you were fortunate enough to watch SmackDown from more than less than about 24 hours ago, then you would have saw what was going on, and the buzz started then and there. Hey, what's going on here? I thought WWE said they were sold out this weekend. Yeah, it seems like there's a decent amount of empty seats, and so there was a whole lot of debate going on from what was being shared online for SmackDown. And then there was kind of one of those, well, hey, look, it's probably so expensive that they priced a lot of people out. whatever. Hey, it's all about the Royal Rumble. That's where you really need to be focused on. So we go to the Royal Rumble, and all throughout the night, it's looking as though when the hard camera is just panning out and cutting and all that, you're like, man, looks like there's a lot of empty seats. What's really going on here? And then you see these weird white looking objects that's having you go, are those representing empty seats? What the hell is going on there? Or are those candles? What the hell? So it turns out these white things that we were seeing all throughout the arena, those were candles. Legit candles. Some type of LED candles, the way it kind of came off to me. But then the question becomes, okay, we see these candles, but was this arena really sold out? Was there a decent amount of people in attendance, or is our eyes deceiving us? And so I did my due diligence. I went online. I looked for not only photographs, but I really, really wanted more so than photographs was video footage. I did see video footage from fans that were in attendance. I'd love to show it here right now, but you know how fickle WWE is, particularly on YouTube. Any content whatsoever, even if it's fan recorded footage at the event, they got to slap a copyright on it. So I'm not interested in dealing with any copyright issues. But if you go on social media, there is legit video footage that shows at various points throughout the night a combination of empty seats and filled seats. But one thing that is not mistaken is these white things that we were seeing all throughout. Those are candles. I just got to say, like, it's very distracting from a production standpoint, building of a stage, setting up your props and everything, just looking at it from all of those standpoints. I personally, and I'd like to know from you guys if you too found the candles to be very distracting, but me, I found the candles very distracting. It had me focusing more on, man, what's going on? Are there people? Is it truly sold out? Because, not for nothing, we never did get an official number by WWE for all those that were in attendance. Normally they like to brag about how many is in attendance and everything, and we never did hear that number from them throughout the night. They did say sold out, but they didn't let us know, okay, by how much. So, but I think going forward, WWE crew and the Saudi Arabia crew, you're going to do these future events in Riyadh. You got to can those candles. They're just too distracting. It takes away from what's happening inside the ring, okay? Which is where your focus really should be. Other than that, I saw, because that was definitely a really big talk the past 24 hours. It was what's going on. They're saying sold out, but it doesn't look like that. And even as I say this here and now, there is still a lot of conflicted people. Majority feel that the attendance looked pretty good, despite the fact that they noticed there were, in fact, a couple of seats. And then you have another section that believes WWE kind of got exposed because there were a lot of empty seats. And then you have another group that's kind of looking at this and they're just going, doesn't mean a damn thing to me. I just want some damn good in-ring action, and rightfully so. Love the order of the card for tonight's Royal Rumble event. Although I gotta say, for your speaking of production, from a opening standpoint, my God. So let me see if I got this straight. Let me see if I got this straight, people. So we got Triple H Paul Levesque on the front cover of 2K26. CM Punk is your standard edition. He's the WWE current champion, right? He's the world champion, but he gets the standard edition, right? And we'll go over all the pricing and what all you get on the Monday show. But CM Punk is the standard edition. But Triple H, I guess he's the legend edition, apparently. And it's like, my God, can the ego be stroked any harder? Well, yes, it can, and it will, because the opening of tonight's Royal Rumble, we had this video package of Triple H walking through this virtual museum, if you will, that was showing on these walls really great Royal Rumble moments and everything. And I mean, look, it was cool. I was into it. And yeah, who better to tell you about the Royal Rumble? Who knows better about the importance of the Royal Rumble, the road to WrestleMania, and all of that good stuff? Who better than the game Triple H? But it's just gotten to a point for me as a fan. And I'm a Triple H Paul Levesque fan. Wasn't always that way. I'm a fan, but now I'm even starting to go, okay, this is getting freaking nauseating, my man. Like, do you have to narrate and have your face be? I mean, he is really starting to become the P. Diddy of Bad Boy Records with WWE, isn't he? I mean, all up in the videos. So I guess Tony Khan at this point is death row, right? I guess Tony Khan is Suge Knight death row. I mean, it really makes you wonder. But yeah, it's just getting so goddamn nauseating. Sound off. Let me know if you guys are now kind of getting a little nauseated with the Triple H, because I mean, man, I mean he's everywhere. The Triple H WrestleMania promos, and now we got him in the Royal Rumble stuff, and I mean anything WrestleMania commercial really, like it's like, dude, just time out, just dial it back a little bit, dude. Seriously. But great video package that they had put together and everything. They kicked things off with the women's Royal Rumble match. Ooh, that women's Royal Rumble match. Okay, so look, positives. I legit got a smile on my face seeing Brie Bella make her return. I did not have that on the bingo card, especially considering how outspoken she has been about wanting to return to WWE. She shared these thoughts many times with her sister Nikki on their Bella's podcast that they do. And Brie basically said, look, I want to come back, but with Daniel, Daniel Brian Danielson, with him being in AEW, she said it out loud. She said, "Yeah, not for nothing, but they're probably looking at me, they being WWE, probably looking at me as the enemy, and maybe they kind of don't really want to deal with me, which is unfortunate because I would love to come back and everything." So to see Brie Bella in the women's Royal Rumble, legit, I got a smile on my face. I always thought between her and Nikki, I always felt that Brie was the better wrestler. Sure, Nikki had the looks, or has the looks, I should say. Let me not say it in past tense because she's still a very beautiful woman even today in 2026. Both of them have aged very, very well, I gotta say. Still cute and everything, sexy and everything. But Brie Bella, for me personally, I always felt she was the overall better wrestler, and I also felt Brie is the overall better. Yeah, okay, I can kind of connect to her more as a character, even though there's kind of really not that much there. I think it's one of those things where if you ask wrestling fans that grew up watching the Bellas, it's just kind of one of those cases where, like, if you're walking down the street, Brie would be the one that you could honestly see yourself just striking up a random conversation. Oh, hey, I see you're a Marvel fan. Or whereas Nikki, for a lot of people, this isn't just me saying, it's just how a lot of people felt over the years and everything. They just felt Brie was the more approachable one, the more likable one, the more you know, what's the right word I'm looking for? Hey, which one of those two is an asshole? And you're going, oh, shit, Nikki looks like she's the asshole. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it came off for many, many years. So it was nice seeing Brie make her return. Other than that, there really was not anything else. Shout out to those of you that had checked out my Royal Rumble predictions. We put that up as soon as it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. We had that be available. Kind of feels like we put that up maybe Tuesday night, but we went all in depth. And if you checked it out, you were rewarded greatly because I didn't just go over the card that we had at that time, but I personally looked at the entire rosters between NXT, Raw, SmackDown. I even poked my head looking at Evolve, and I basically filled out the rest of the slots with the individuals I felt was going to be appearing in the Rumble matches. I did it for both the men and women. And then I also had brought up some key things that I'd like to personally see play out in the Rumble that made a lot of sense storyline wise and all of that, right? Considering everything that we saw the past couple of weeks. And I got to say, just looking at how everybody came out, here is your order, by the way, of the women in the order in which they all came out. Number one, Charlotte Flair, followed up by Alexa Bliss, Kiana James, Nia Jax, Ivy Now, Lola Vice from NXT. I start to put her down during the prediction special. I start to mention her name, but I just wasn't that confident. Candice LeRae, who I did say is likely going to be tossed a bone. Jordan Grace, Becky Lynch, Sol Ruka, we called Sol Ruka, Roxanne Perez, Maxine Dupree, I went on record and said Maxine Dupree, because we did find out Maxine Dupree was going to be involved in the Rumble. And I went on record during predictions and said she has no business being in the match. We haven't heard her on social media. We haven't seen her since she was beaten down by Natty. Makes all the sense in the world. Something maybe weird happens to Dupree. She doesn't make it to the match. That way, you can leave her off TV a little longer and, kind of go from there. But they went on ahead. They put Maxine Dupree in there. Natty was in there as well. She was the next person that came after Dupree. Natty at number 13. Following Natty, Liv Morgan, Lash Legend, Zelina, Raquel Rodriguez, Chelsea Green, Julia, Io Sky, Asuka, Rhea Ripley, Bailey, JC Jane. We called that, didn't we? Said JC Jane because it'd be nice to see her, them toss a bone to JC, and they did. Nikki Bella, Lyra, Valkyria, Kalani Jordan. Did not put her down. I did. I totally blanked out on her. Totally blanked out on her. Kari Sane, Brie Bella, and making her return. We called this one. There was one other return. We called this one too. Tiffany Stratton. So those were your 30 participants for the women's Royal Rumble. As far as who had the most eliminations, that record went to none other than Lash Legend. Lash Legend had 5 eliminations total. She eliminated see here. She eliminated Candice LeRae. Hang on. Let me make sure I got this down right. Hang on, guys. Hang on. Where is she? Lash Legend. Okay. Lash Legend eliminated. Hang on, I'm gonna have to go to a different screen for that because I actually did write it down. I have it on my phone, but she had the most eliminations. I thought Lash Legend looked pretty damn good during the Rumble and the opportunities that they gave her. There were some spots where it just looked a little. Let me put it to you this way: it didn't look pretty the way they had Lash Legend in there, but I wouldn't expect it to go down any other way. All right. If it was going to be looking a little bit rough around the edges, I could live with it. So as long as the selling was good and the offense from Lash Legend was a bit shaky, it's kind of interesting because I've been watching her in NXT since she first popped up, and it just seems like, as far as the progression has gone from her being on the main roster now compared to her tenure at NXT, it just seems she's regressed just a bit, but still a really damn good performance that Lash Legend had. She eliminated Jordan Grace, Nikki Bella, Brie Bella, Charlotte Flair, and Io Sky. So not bad. Not bad. And with each of the eliminations that she was bringing in there, I mean, she was getting more and more reactions from the crowd and everything. I remember at one point, the crowd even chanted, "Whoop that trick" at her. So it's kind of one of those, hey, we know who your man is. Like, you can't fool us. I kind of like that little nod and everything. It's interesting too that Lash Legend basically was in the spot that I felt, and I went over this a few days ago, that Jordan Grace should have been put in, I felt, because I was calling for Jordan Grace to have a really good, strong, dominating performance, especially given the story arc that's been happening in recent weeks with her and Jay Cargill. I was expecting for Jordan to have a really good, solid showing, much more than what was given to her in the Rumble. So I thought creatively and just the way everything was laid out, I thought that the booking involved did a little bad by Jordan Grace. I'm not saying you had to have her be part of the Final Four, not saying that at all, not even implying that. It's just you would have expected a okay, now that Jordan has fully committed to us, she's fully committed to WWE and everything, and she's behind our system and everything. Now we can really build her up and all that. I just would have thought they'd have done her due diligence better compared to, last year's Rumble and all that. But yeah, very disappointing. Nice seeing Bailey in there as well for what it was worth, but that basically was very lackluster, to say the least. The spot with Maxine and Natty, I did not care for that at all. I thought that at many points, for the brief little bit of time that Maxine Dupree was out there, I felt she was extremely animated, too animated for my personal taste. She was making all these weird, I call it poopy face. The only other time I've seen faces made like that is when we were babies, and if we went on our pants, we made these weird little Sour Patch Kids faces, right? And Maxine just made the most cartoonish, silliest freaking faces that did not sell me at all. Did not like that whatsoever. uh Natty came out to some new music. It was a knockoff version of what she's been pushing on the independents with her Rage Against the Machine stuff. It was a knockoff bootleg version of that song. Obviously, they were inspired by the real deal. Sucks that WWE wouldn't pony up the money there. I mean, they could have worked something out. I'm sure Tom Morello and crew. I'm sure Zach De La Rocha. I'm sure they could have worked out some type of a deal and hooked the WWE up for a nice little discount. But given the fact that Natty came out to new music, Titantron graphic, and all of that, even more the reason. Okay, I understand that you're trying to toss in a bone, acknowledge this feud that's continuing to happen with these two girls and everything, but no, it makes more sense, even more sense, that you leave Natty off TV and you let people experience her, the entire presentation of this new Natty, right? Just hold it until the next Monday Night Raw and everything. So, was not a fan of all of that whatsoever. We didn't even get a situation where Maxine Dupree got to eliminate Natty, or uh Natty eliminates Dupree. That didn't even happen because Natty ended up getting eliminated by Liv Morgan. Meanwhile, frickin' Dupree got eliminated by Becky Lynch. So, like, it just, I mean, you could go, well, at least there was a little bit of continuity of a nod there between Becky and Dupree. Like, yeah, yeah, I guess. For those of you wondering, what about AJ Lee? Well, we just went over all the participants. No AJ Lee sighting on this one. Maybe we get Natty on the next Monday Night Raw or two in a couple of weeks. Maybe that's how it's going to go down. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. For me though, I think the MVP for this women's Royal Rumble match, I gotta say, Sol Ruka. And that's despite the fact that Sol Ruka came into that bad boy. I think Sol Ruka only had one elimination, but she went in there and the spots where it counted the most. I mean, she was freaking delivering on all cylinders. Matter of fact, Sol Ruka was part of the final four. Even with the way they did Io Sky and Rhea Ripley, I was disappointed in that. I thought for sure that as part of the Final Four, we would have Sol Ruka in there, Tiffany Stratton, Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and if you want to throw a fifth one in there, I kind of felt like Liv Morgan was somehow going to be part of that whole mix. I also felt Raquel as well, but that there was going to be some type of act of betrayal where Liv, first opportunity she saw and she could eliminate one of her homegirls, she was going to do it. That latter part, I did get right. Raquel was looking really good, very dominating and all that. Out of nowhere, just got eliminated by Liv. Raquel was extremely pissed off. Hey, nature of the beast, every woman for themselves. Matched up beautifully with what I talked about a couple of days ago. So it'll be interesting to see how that part of the conversation goes down on this Monday's Raw for the Judgment Day and all that. But I thought for sure at one point we were going to see Io and Rhea kind of go at it one on one because remember Io's been having Rhea's number every single time they've been locking up and everything, and I mean it was right there for the taking, but WWE did not go in that direction. Instead, I mean, great moments with Sol Ruka and everything, but it was like the only other moment besides the Bellas reunited, Brie returning, was them giving a nod to Asuka, Julia, Io Sky, all fighting each other at the same time. Once it got a little bit mid deep into the women's Royal Rumble. So I mean, that was a nice little nod for what it was worth and everything. Rhea Ripley ended up being eliminated by Raquel Rodriguez, while Io Sky got eliminated by Lash Legend. So that's how that had played out and everything. Tiffany Stratton coming out at number 30. Tiffy time. Remember, this was my person to win this year's Women's Royal Rumble. Came extremely close. I love the finish to the match, how all that had played out. So we had Liv Morgan, Sol Ruka, and hang on, I'm drawing a blank on Tiffany Stratton, Sol Ruka, Liv Morgan. We had the three of those girls fighting, and Sol Ruka had hit a soul crusher outside the ring on Tiffany Stratton. And that, if I'm not mistaken, I think that had eliminated her. And then it kind of seemed like it was going to come down to Tiffany Stratton and Liv. And Liv pretty much went for the Oblivion again outside the ropes or on the side ring apron. It pretty much eliminated Tiffany Stratton that way. So Liv Morgan is your 2026 Royal Rumble winner. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I was really, really high on Tiffany Stratton, honestly. It just still feels a little bit weird to me that they're going with Liv Morgan because Liv hasn't been back that long. But I will not deny, as far as what is more of a, if you want to ask me what is more of a scenario where you can catch bees with honey, I like the idea of Liv Morgan going between Raw and SmackDown, crossing paths with each respected champion, right? As opposed to Tiffany Stratton, who I've been here on this show many times, and I've said, you know what, she's got her work cut out for her. Let's really see. I was very hesitant in the idea of her being this year's Royal Rumble winner. And I did stress that, but at the same time, I kind of felt, well, you know, she does need to get revenge there on Jade Cargill. They do need to eventually somehow run that back. That'd be kind of nice to see. And then I also said, not for nothing, but if Tiffany Stratton has improved as an overall character, if she's been taking some improv classes and all of that, then you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's see what this woman can do and everything. But Liv Morgan is the direction that they're going with. There's a part of me that is okay with that. I'm okay with that. So, looking at the current landscape right now, a Liv Morgan talking trash with Stephanie Vaquer. Okay. Then on the other side, you've got Liv Morgan talking trash with, I'm trying to think who's the SmackDown women's champion right now. Jade Cargill. That is kind of, that would be a very interesting interaction. That would be kind of, I can kind of see that going down, but it just makes more sense for me right now that Liv is gunning after Stephanie Vaquer. I mean, I definitely think it's safe to say Stephanie Vaquer, Liv Morgan, WrestleMania, that is a lock, right? Speaking of match outcomes and all of that, I don't know the person's name in the chat. It is just weird characters. I just see what looks like the letter I, or maybe it's the letter L. So apologies, but I don't know what you're exactly calling yourself screen name wise. But they're talking about how the Royal Rumble results was leaked a week ago, and a lot of people, including themselves, knew about who they felt was going to win. Hey, look, I don't have free time and I'm not saying a lot of you guys have free time, so don't take it the wrong way. But I don't have the time. Those that check out the show, you guys know I'm a full-time college student and I'm juggling a whole bunch of stuff besides work and all. I don't have time to be going on websites, reading all the dirt sheet, this leaked, and I normally don't even go out of my way to look for that information. I just like to kick back and be entertained. So if this information was leaked out as far as like who all was going to be winning the matches and all of that, and you guys decided you wanted to take a peek at that, my God, that just ruins the whole magic. It's one thing if you sit down and you're looking at the current landscape of storytelling from the shows that you're watching with your own eyeballs, and then you're going, okay, so where could WWE go with this? And if there's going to be a surprise, where might they go with this? It's one thing to go in that direction, right? Nothing wrong with that. But when you're like, well, I read this thing online and it's like, I even tell my wife this, so don't take it personal, guys. I even tell my wife this because sometimes she will come at me with some weird wrestling news and she'll be like, hey, I saw that. And I just say to her, just put that to the side. Like, why are you reading stuff like that? Why are you going out of your way to look at that type of stuff? Oh, it's just something, I was just trying to kill some time. And I'm like, you're taking the fun out of it. Just kick back and, just enjoy it in real time and all that, right? So just trying to think if there's anything else in addition to what I want to mention in regards to this women's match. Definitely the right person won, although if they would have gone the direction of Tiffany Stratton, I would have been okay with that as well. But them go and look, by the way, oh my God, I can't believe I almost forgot about this. Love how they set up my girl, Raquel Rodriguez. They really did good with her, giving her some nice, cool spots, continuing on with the whole big, sexy mamacita there, right? So they did her really, really good for what it was worth. Even Chelsea Green got a nice little pop from the crowd and everything for what it was worth. Weakest thing out of this women's rumble, by the way, before I put a pretty little book in on this, everybody wants to spend more time talking about like, spoiler winners and all that. Can we address what the fuck was that to kick off the women's Royal Rumble between Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair? And they basically were playing footsie with one another, throwing up heart shapes and all this other weird crap. Like, I thought that was the stupidest damn thing that they could have showed to kick off this Royal Rumble, and it was such a buzzkill. You could tell that the crowd in attendance did not care for this whatsoever. And I would like to know from the Saudi Arabia crowd. So shout out to you guys that were in attendance. But I wonder if you guys were maybe like myself and others that were watching this at home, going, "Damn, this is buzzkill." Like I thought I was watching. Like this is for a chance to main event at WrestleMania, and we're doing hand gesture, footsies, hugs, and all this shit. What the fuck? To the point, it took me a minute to get what's the right word I'm looking for? Words I'm looking for. It took me a good minute to shake that off and really get into the match because that buzzkill it just stunk up the whole joint. But that was that. Right person definitely went over as far as I was concerned. Let's see some other. I think the next match was AJ Styles versus Gunther. Remember, if AJ Styles loses, then that is it for his wrestling career. I gotta say, this was a damn good match. My God. AJ Styles, the match with Shinsuke Nakamura at Saturday night's main event. Then he follows it up a couple of days later with a World Heavyweight Championship match there with CM Punk. And now for his third act, his this match against Gunther. Boy, I tell you, this was a damn good match. Kind of bittersweet, melancholy all at the same time. I thought that there was going to be some type of a swerve that we were going to get in this match. I did not think AJ Styles was going to lose this. There was even a part of me that was going, maybe Ludwig Kaiser comes back. Wouldn't that be some interesting storytelling there? Ludwig Kaiser, right? Because there's still some unresolved stuff that's going on there between Kaiser and Gunther. But then I really stopped and thought about it. That makes too much damn sense of long term storytelling to a degree, and everything for WWE. That's probably, yeah, no, we can forget about that. And sure enough, we didn't get any swerves in there. Nothing of that magnitude. I did poll you guys though. I was curious what you all thought was going to happen in this particular matchup. If you thought AJ Styles was going to win, or if you felt we're going to get swerved. Here's how that had looked. 47% of you felt AJ Styles was going to be done. Meanwhile, 53% of you felt you were going to get swerved in this matchup. AJ Styles losing to Gunther 24 minutes, 4 seconds. Closing moments of this matchup. AJ Styles back in going for a springboard 450. That basically set him up for the Styles clash. Only got a near fall off of that. Styles cannot believe what he's seeing. He thought for sure that was going to seal the deal. Not for nothing, though, but when Styles did this, he did not hook the leg. So that was the dead giveaway for me. As long as I've been watching AJ Styles doing the Styles clash, he always hooks the leg. And he's just leaving the legs just all high up in the air of Gunther's. I'm going, yeah, Gunther's kicking out of that. And sure enough, he did. So now they're going back and forth. Referee kind of gets in between them somehow in the corner. Gunther causes a little bit of a distraction while he low blows AJ, sets him up for a power bomb for a near fall. From there, Gunther with those nice trademark devastating chops in the corner. Styles goes down and everything. Styles ends up coming back with a little bit of offense of his own before he gets pulled into a sleeper by Gunther. And, Styles is doing a phenomenal, no pun intended, but he's doing a really solid job trying to get out of these holds. I loved how at one point we see AJ striking with the elbows to the ribcage section of Gunther, and Gunther just instantly. I love how this was all laid out as Gunther kind of, okay, you're gonna hit me like that. I'm gonna maneuver just a little bit so you can't get me there. And it's kind of like, now what? Then
he reapplies that sleeper hold even more. AJ Styles then, okay, well, let me just, what can I get of Gunther's? What can I hit that's accessible? Then he sees, well, he doesn't see, but he feels, I think it was the left leg of Gunther. And then he just starts striking at the leg, closed and open hands and all, but mainly closed fists. And he's just striking at Gunther's leg. And that kind of loosens up Gunther a bit, to which AJ, is now kind of able to get in a all four position. Gunther is now literally sitting on top of him with the sleeper hold, and he's just applying pressure on that bad boy. AJ Styles now just desperately trying to reach for the ropes for a rope break, and Gunther is just like, nah, 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 nah. You ain't getting that. AJ coming oh so damn close. I love the drama in these final seconds of this as Gunther finally just goes, okay, I'm done playing around with you, man. And so he just literally rests his whole body on AJ while he still has that sleeper hold on him. AJ is fighting once again, a little bit of life left, but then Gunther just turns over, and that pretty much was it. As the referee went to check on AJ, raised a hand. That was it for AJ. Fans in attendance were stunned like a mofo. I gotta tell you, I said this as early as a couple of days ago. I said AJ Styles is done, at least in WWE. He's done. But just to see it play out, like, stunned. I am just absolutely stunned to see that. Wow, so that is it for AJ Styles. Like, there was a part of me that was hoping, nah, AJ will get a big send off at WrestleMania, or he'll get a send off at SummerSlam. That's where it's really going to. But wow, it's just amazing that 10 years ago, going back to 2016, is when AJ Styles made his WWE debut, and it was at the Royal Rumble. Talk about Alpha and Omega, right? The beginning and the end. And how bittersweet is that his WWE career ends where it began at the Royal Rumble, although not in US soil, but begins and ends at the Royal Rumble. It was really, really hard to believe. I had a lot of mixed emotions in me as I was seeing this play before my eyes. And, I had put out a post talking about this whole thing. And I think what I had said is just, it's really best when you think about it. I said, wow, I think we all conditioned ourselves, but I, for one, am stunned, absolutely stunned and speechless. Not since Shawn Michaels have I been so captivated by another wrestler like AJ Styles. So many fond moments and matches. Thank you, AJ, for the memories. And that's legit from the heart. That is legit from the heart. I, it, it's infuriating. It really is infuriating for me because AJ let this be known some months back, and you just would have been under the impression that for everything that this man has done, okay, he's on his way out. You just would have thought that they would have at least come to some agreement of, okay, well, look, obviously we dropped the ball quite a bit when it came to John Cena's farewell tour and everything. And we could have done things a little bit differently. We should have done things a little bit differently when it came to Bill Goldberg. But hey, you know what? We definitely want to make sure we do right by you. And look, not for nothing, not for nothing. It's AJ Styles' story to tell at a later time, at a later date, obviously. But I would just love to know, like, how flexible was AJ when he sat down and told WWE, hey, look, this is what's up. And I'm just curious if there was even any talk at all of, well, look, we'd love to maybe get you in on a handshake deal, and we can ride this till WrestleMania, or maybe we could ride this to SummerSlam. What do you say? You know, are you down? I would love to believe that AJ would have loved to finish 2026 in WWE, but they just obviously they couldn't come to the price. They couldn't agree on the right amount and everything. Now, one thing that I had saw that was interesting, which might have gave you a little bit of a clue what was going to happen. If you did not look for this, you may have stumbled upon it. And it's okay if you stumbled upon it, and that might have had you thinking a little bit. But not for nothing, I came across it for the first time a handful of hours before the Royal Rumble kicked off. And it was this piece of news about AJ basically filing for the P1 trademark and all that. I'll talk about it more on the Monday show, but I saw that and I said, Now, it didn't change my personal opinion. I felt AJ was done in WWE. But when I saw that little piece of news, I just couldn't help but go, okay, I'll just have that in the back of my head. I'll take that for what it's worth with a grain of salt. But just following my eyes, seeing what was done with Bill Goldberg, seeing what was done with John Cena, seeing the handling of R-Truth and his contract situation, it'd be nice if they could do something here very redeeming with AJ, but I'm not going to get my hopes up. Look, we can all be in agreement. AJ should have got a better send-off rather than just three really damn good matches at that in the span of a week, right? But it is what it is. Just kind of follow up on what I had talked about a couple of days ago when I was offering predictions. AJ Styles will be done, but in WWE. I also brought up the fact that AJ could very well be on his way to TNA. He could be returning there. I even brought up the fact of how, because we did a brand new Impact Showdown covering TNA Impact on Thursday nights, AMC. That particular show ended with Frankie Kazarian pulling Daria Ray, formerly known as Sonya Deville, to the side as she was about to enter her office. And he said, "Hey, we need to talk." And I couldn't help but pose the question on the post show there, what do you think that's about? Is it possible that he could be making a strong suggestion to, hey, I have it on good authority that, it's possible that AJ may lose this match against Gunther, and his career's on the line, and if it goes down, maybe we should kind of make a play for him. You really want to flex your chops, talk about how you're the boss when it comes to, doing things in the new era in TNA. Like, one of the first signings for Daria Ray is Alana Black, formerly known as Cora Jade. Hey, the idea that AJ Styles could be up for grabs, not to mention Frankie Kazarian's got unfinished business with AJ. The few times that AJ has mingled with TNA Wrestling, he has said language along the lines of, not right now, but I'll say see you later for now. So that door is essentially open. Really makes you wonder if just how scary accurate I am that we could be seeing something play out there with AJ and TNA Wrestling. Only time will tell. For those that's automatically going AJ Styles in AEW, I even saw some funniness going on with his name being changed. These are people that obviously don't know anything about the copyright, the trademark. AJ has all of that on lockdown. So his name and all that ain't going to change. Styles Clash, all that, like, none of that is going to change. Okay. The only thing that might change is the theme song, but that's basically it. Everything else he's got. I don't really see AJ. Let me say this as we'll move along. I don't see AJ giving AEW the opportunity to put a ring on that finger and be like, I'm your next long-term girlfriend. I don't see that happening. I truly believe 2026 really is the year for AJ Styles to pretty much be done. Now, I could maybe see AJ Styles under the right circumstances. I could maybe see him doing one match here, one match there for AEW. But I see him mainly going back out there on the independents. I see him doing some stuff with TNA. I see him doing some stuff with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I can even see AJ doing some stuff with GCW. That's the biggest impressions that I'm getting right now. I can even see AJ under the right circumstances doing something with MLW. If MLW can afford him, I can definitely see him doing something with them, right? The only way I can see AJ Styles doing something regularly with AEW, and I mean much more of on a long-term basis, is like if his asking price is just so ridiculously high that he's priced out from those other promotions. And then Tony Khan is pretty much pulling a Danny DeVito. It's not going to get any better than this. And then he decides to go ahead and hook up with them and everything, right? But I don't see him jumping so fast to go holler at AEW, especially when we know this for certain with AJ. We've been watching his career, but most importantly, paying attention to those shoot interviews. I still remember the two shoot interviews that we had reviewed long time ago. He did one with High Spots, and then he did another with Rob Feinstein of RF Video, and was reflecting on his time in TNA. And one thing that AJ's not about, he don't like drama and all that crap. And he damn sure don't like it when there's issues with his money, right? But he don't like drama. And you would just love to believe that at some point over the years, he definitely picked on the brains of Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Ricky Starks. I would even like to believe, who's Brian Pillman, Brian Pillman's kid, Alexis King. I would love to believe that he picked on all of their brains trying to find out, like, so what's up? Like, I hear it's a good payday, but like, is it really, really right? And I think the best advice that we as fans could really give to AJ Styles right now is, even say what you will, and AEW has been on a much better rebound as of late with their programming, matches, and all of that. You still want to not be so quick to jump on that, and instead, well, let me just buy my time. I'll go do this over here, but I'm gonna keep a watchful eye, and I got some people over there, and I'll just wait that out, see how all that pans out. Tommaso Ciampa just came over to AEW, right? So maybe if you're AJ Styles, you're kicking back, and you're picking the brains of Tommaso in a couple of months. You're picking the brains of FTR. You're picking the brains of Edge, Adam Copeland, hell, even Brian Danielson. And I'm not saying it's not impossible. I'm just saying I don't see him, contrary to how some people may feel about AJ and AEW, I don't see AJ going, yeah, I'm just going to sign with AEW and I'm just going to finish up with them. I don't see that. I see him being a journeyman right now for all intents and purposes. So Gunther winning the way that he did, that was badass. For me, this was definitely another match of the year candidate. And remember, the last time that we were throwing out match of the year candidate, I threw it out there for AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura. The CM Punk AJ Styles joint from earlier in the week, it was good, but what AJ did with Gunther tonight at the Royal Rumble, definitely match of the year candidate. And I love the fact that they had it in the way that it did, because now you're going, well, goddamn, Gunther can do no fucking wrong. All this great momentum, like this dude has just beat legend after legend after legend, Can anybody stop Gunther? And if so, who can stop Gunther? That's the big question that you have watching this match, as it really is setting upon you now that, oh shit, WWE could be conditioning the fans for something really special and magical here tonight, as it could be Gunther striking not one, but two greatest hits in one night. This guy could be walking out going, not only did I beat AJ Styles, but I won the Royal Rumble in the same night. How phenomenal is that? Goddamn the bragging rights. Holy shit. I'd save it for later on, but let's now go to the men's Royal Rumble match. Appreciate you guys that's tuning in, by the way, and you've been hanging with me all this time. We're doing pretty good on managing time and all that. I see your comments that's coming in. Keep it coming. Let me know what you guys had thought about tonight's Royal Rumble event. See the comments that's coming in. If you haven't voted on our interactive poll yet over on X/Twitter at the RCWR show, make sure you cast a vote. Share those hearts, likes, all that for how you're checking this out. Let's go to that men's Royal Rumble. By the way, the women's Royal Rumble, that ended at about... where is that bad boy? That ended about an hour and some change, if I remember correctly. Hang on here. So I want to look at my notes. Women's Royal Rumble match ended an hour and 7 minutes. Gunther defeating AJ Styles, technical submission, 24 minutes, 15 seconds. Let's go to that men's Royal Rumble match. Just shy of what the women did, as it clocked in a little bit over 56 minutes. Roman Reigns is your 2026 Royal Rumble winner. See, I'm not going to bullshit you guys around, but I am going to just dissect the hell out of that motherfucker. So this was your order of participants for the Royal Rumble, coming in at number 1 and going forward. Femi, who, as Michael Cole in the game revealed, still has not signed to a brand. He is still a free agent. That was followed up by Braun Breaker at number 2. Now, very interesting what happened here. So if you were watching the kickoff show, you would have seen, and I love that touch that Michael Cole and the gang, the WWE production crew had did as the men's Royal Rumble was about to commence. They played the footage that aired from the kickoff some hours ago that showed Paul Heyman confronting Raw GM Adam Pearce, and basically saying, what kind of bullshit games are you playing here? You know, you pull some strings and you got Braun Breaker coming out at number 2, really stacking the odds against him. What the hell? To which Pierce is going, you know, that's not how the Royal Rumble works. It's not rigged at all. It's a lottery. You know this. Paul Heyman basically saying, okay, you want to play, fuck around and find out. I can play that game too. So very heated, very contested exchange there from Paul Heyman to Adam Pearce. Needless to say, Paul Heyman comes out with Braun Breaker. Next thing you know, a maxed individual attacks Braun Breaker. I mean, just shoulder tackles him from like out of nowhere. Then proceeds to hit him with a super kick, followed up with a curb stomp, which makes you go, what the hell is this about? Who the hell did this? Like, what the hell's going on here? Most importantly, who is the individual that attacked Braun Breaker? Obviously, you got some conspiracy theories that's running around. Some people feel that this was kind of a inside job within the Vision. Some feel ultimately this was a Logan Paul audible. Some feel that this was perhaps Seth Rollins. Now, one thing you all need to note, because this sadly did not get enough coverage. As you all know that know your American football, the NFL, Seth Rollins has been doing a lot of stuff as one of the new hosts for one of the ESPN shows talking football and all that. And when it came to going into Royal Rumble weekend, He was doing something with Stephen A. Smith and them, and basically the question was asked, "Hey, so are we going to see you at the Royal Rumble? Or are you going to be there?" And normally, when Seth Rollins has been put in a position where he's asked about the WWE, a certain angle or certain return or whatever, he plays the greatest game of poker face. He'll say some stuff like, hey, I can't confirm or deny, or I guess you'll just have to watch the show and find out. Or, yeah, look, as much as I would like to be there because it's a great payday, nah, man, I'm still hurting. So, right. And like, you're thinking about what happened with the newest season of WWE Unreal and how Seth Rollins keep kayfabe alive, brother. Got to keep that kayfabe alive, right? We got to blend the lines here, right? We got to blend them. You would just think that Seth Rollins would be on his best A game, but he literally was like, it was like a glitch in the system. And Stephen A. Smith, bless his heart, he kind of realized what was going on. And Stephen A. Smith, he kind of saved him. You guys got to go out of your way and check it out. I bring all that up to say it's very well possible that the guy that did this to Braun Breaker, it very well could have been Seth Rollins. I know the good folks over at Fightful and PW Insider, last that they had reported, some of their intel was suggesting that Seth Rollins is hoping, based on their respective sources, probably sources kind of close to, maybe it's someone that has direct ties to Seth Rollins, is in constant direct, communications with him or whatnot. That's probably their sources, but basically Seth Rollins is trying to do his best to be at this year's WrestleMania. So depending on where Seth is physically and his rehabbing and all of that, I mean, yeah, at this point, we're like about what, 70 plus days away from WrestleMania. So, yeah, if there was ever a time where you want to do this mystery stuff, who attacked Braun, heighten the conspiracy of, yo, this is Adam Pierce putting the screws to Braun Breaker here. Yeah, yeah, this is definitely that time, especially if it means you might be that much closer to Seth Rollins coming back and everything. Following out the other entrants in the order in which they came in for the Men's Royal Rumble, Solo Sikoa, Rey Mysterio, Rusev. Shout out to Rusev. We hadn't seen him in a couple of months. Matt Cardona, Damian Priest, Javon Evans, Mr. Iguana, Trick Williams, nice pop from the crowd, Cody Rhodes, El Grande Americano Dos, and then El Grande Americano 1. Yes, Chad Gable returned, but as El Grande Americano 1, or the original El Grande Americano. New agent Royce Keys. We heard the rumblings that this was potentially going to be Powerhouse Hobbs' new name. I saw that same piece of information floating around as most of you guys. I just let that in one ear and out the other. My whole thing was, honestly, was this the right time and place for Powerhouse Hobbs to pop up? That was my whole thing. That was my number one concern was, do we really want to have Powerhouse Hobbs debut at the Royal Rumble, or should this be saved for when WWE gets back to the States? Would it maybe make more sense to have Powerhouse Hobbs be in a city where, okay, like a New Jersey crowd or a Florida crowd, or even a Philly crowd, since we're going to be getting WWE from Philadelphia this Monday night. Remember, there's a Philadelphia street fight that's going to be going down between Stephanie Vakir and Raquel Rodriguez. And that was my main concern, because I had serious trepidations that Powerhouse Hobbs, uh, Royce Keys, was not going to get over that well with the crowd. And sure enough, we get the little graphic by the stage ramp area and all that that shows Powerhouse Hobbs, you're like, oh, okay, cool. I'm paying attention to the crowd reaction. Not, there's a lack thereof. And then the name changes to Royce Keys. Then we see him come out. There's not really a reaction for this dude at all. Not good. Not good. So that was kind of wasted there by WWE. Um, it was rough watching him in there because he went toe to toe with Damian Priest, and I remember at one point he picked up Damian Priest, put him over his shoulders, and I'm going, "The hell is this dude doing? Like, what is he about to do here?" And it just seemed like he was struggling with Damian Priest, and whatever spot maybe was about to be attempted. I don't know if Damian Priest just called an audible at the last minute and let Keys know, I ain't feeling this. Let's just go with something else. We didn't see whatever dude was trying to do. We didn't see the conclusion of that because they pretty much just went to the next entrant for the Rumble. But very shaky. Very shaky. There was nothing impressive. He looked like a deer in headlights. He looked like he didn't know what the fuck he was doing. And I hate saying that because I love me some Powerhouse Hobbs, but they didn't do him justice here on this night. I think it would have made more sense to have him come in, like I said a few seconds ago, not just in that fashion, but also let him get a rub off of somebody, right? Enough said. Enough said. Enough said. Looking at the rest of this card, I'm just trying to think about other little spots that kind of caught my attention, so to speak, during this one. Femi, let's talk about him for a little bit. Femi had a nice, damn good performance because remember he came out at number 1, and he had the most eliminations until Roman Reigns came into the mix. And the two of them actually ended up with the tie for most eliminations, which is at 5. So again, split between Femi and Roman Reigns. Oba looked like a fucking stud. He did phenomenally well. And let me just say this. I know there's people that's going to call me some unflattering things. They're probably going to call me the K word that rhymes with tune. Shout out to my friend Matt Coon. They're probably going to call me Uncle Cracker or Uncle Ruckus or whatever. But there's no denying what I'm getting ready to say. I know that we have the Unreal episode that did not show Triple H in a flattering light whatsoever when it came to dealing with R-Truth. And we will definitely talk about that aspect a little bit more on Monday because I see some of this stuff that's going on, and I understand those that have maybe felt, Triple H is a racist. There's just something about, and it's so hilarious to see the Booker T stuff, running around again. And at the same time, to know that years after that, Triple H actually went to bat for Booker T. He wanted for Booker T to become the world champion at that respective year's WrestleMania, but Vince McMahon shot it down. And Vince McMahon's got the final say. So it's like, but Triple H wanted Booker to go over. But nobody's thinking about that. They just go, Triple H is a damn racist. So we just talked about a women's Royal Rumble where Lash Legend was just, my God, Homegirl had a fantastic showing. We just told you all the people that she eliminated. So definitely very, very high hopes right there for Lash Legend. Sadly, before she went out due to pregnancy, Naomi was just, everything this girl was touching was fucking on fire, okay? Carmelo Hayes is your current United States champion. Although I gotta say, when it counted the most, I was looking for Carmelo Hayes to be involved in the men's Royal Rumble, and, he wasn't there. I was kind of unfortunate. I really wish we could have seen him. But we did get Javon Evans. We did get Oba Femi. We did get Trick Williams. All these guys. And there was a really cool spot involving all of these men. And you're just going, wow, the future of the men's division is looking particularly damn good. You're looking at Penta. You're looking at Jacob Fatu, who cut one scathing bomb-ass promo against Cody Rhodes a couple of weeks ago, talking about the real hard times and everything. Okay? Yeah, the stuff with Powerhouse Hobbs, Royce Keys, it went over like a wet fart. But here's another black guy, black person that was given a really good spot, a chance to shine. I don't want to keep hearing this goddamn talk about, oh, Triple H is racist. I want to pull something that MVP has said constantly, in regards to Triple H. And I've even heard to a degree Karrion Kross say this in between the lines, kind of, so to speak. But really, I want to focus on MVP and what some other wrestlers have said, which is Triple H has his favorites. You know exactly who they are. And if you are not part of Triple H's inner circle, and by inner circle, that doesn't mean, you got to be, part of his buddy system. But like, if you're not part of that, okay, Triple H believes in you and he sees nothing but like, good things happening for you. Like, if you aren't part of his pet project circle, yeah, your days are probably numbered. Right? Your days are probably numbered. Lord knows whatever the hell's going on with Bianca Belair. We know she had a finger amputated. I think it was on her left hand. But we know before she started having her hand issues, like everything Bianca Belair was touching was just money. Jade Cargill is your current women's champion right now over on the SmackDown brand. So, I mean, I'm seeing, and let's not also forget, that before Vince McMahon was totally phased out of the WWE, Vince McMahon wasn't trying to have Naomi back in WWE, but Triple H was like, nah, man, I'm telling you, like all the stuff I've been seeing her, as far as the independents and all, like, no, there's a lot of good stuff that's going on here with Naomi. And he was proven right at the very end. So just marinate on all that. And if you want to have that discussion about Triple H being racist, I welcome you to tune in to Monday's RCWR show when we'll talk a lot more specifically about that whole R-Truth Unreal episode involving Triple H. We'll talk about that much more. But just marinate on that. But Oba Femi, Javon Evans, Trick Williams, all of them had very damn good strong showings in this Rumble. I got my wish from what I had laid out earlier in the week during our prediction special episode. I said, yo, you gotta have Oba have a spot with Brock Lesnar. And man, did they deliver. Did they deliver? I loved it. And you could just tell when Brock is smiling and he just got this good feel, kind of happy-go-lucky feel, like, that Brock is like, I've done my homework. I know about you. Yeah, you's a good son of a bitch. Like, last time I saw Brock Lesnar that happy to just like, oh, I get to work with this person. Keith Lee. Keith Lee was like one of the last people of color that I can remember where Brock was like, oh shit, I get to work with this person. So it was nice. My biggest takeaway from this men's Royal Rumble, especially considering all the trash talking, but at the same time, there was a lot of truth to what Roman Reigns had said when he made his round ESPN and scathing what he had said. I think a lot of it was playing up to the Roman Reigns character, but at the same time, I also believe a lot of what he was saying is true. That's something else that we'll talk a lot more about on Monday's show, because there's a lot to dissect and unpack there. Let me just tease you with this. For those of you that, you saw this interview and or read the transcript, notice who he did not give praise to. That's all I need to say. Notice who he did not give praise to, who he did not mention by name. And I think that is done purposely. I don't think that's a story angle thing. I just feel that is just legit how he's feeling. But what I saw in this men's Royal Rumble was, you know what? The future on the men's side of things, very bright. A lot of bright, young, promising talents that, you know what? They're going to be all right. There's definitely some future stars, some big household names that, some years from now, we definitely are going to be talking about and everything, right? So it's really good how they had all of this set up. I love how they had Jey Uso come out there and he was so pressed to do his damn yeeting that when Roman Reigns finally came in there and he's looking at his cousin and he's like, did you want to do that again? Did you want to yeet again? And Jay's like, yeah, let's do it. Cued his music up and Roman Reigns just laid him out flat on his ass. Most hilarious stuff right there. I love that. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the final moments of this matchup, because let's get down to the nitty gritty. We already talked about Braun Breaker and him pretty much getting eliminated, circumstances of him getting eliminated. For the rest of the Vision members, LA Knight coming in white hot. LA Knight, we hadn't seen him since early December when he was taken out by Bronson Reed, a couple of tsunamis and all that. So he came back. Timing is perfect too, considering the newest season of Unreal is out and just that whole fiasco. But LA Knight eliminating Austin Theory. LA Knight also eliminated Bronson Reed. So it pretty much came down to the Maverick, Logan Paul. Knight, meanwhile, he ended up getting eliminated by Cody Rhodes. Hated when that went down, but you know what? It was what it was. It was what it was for that one. I'm trying to think who was our final four to our final five. I got to go to some separate notes for that one. Bear with me a second here, guys. And then we can get to the gist of that. Remember, we still got one more match to talk about, too. We got to talk about that SmackDown World title match between Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn. All right, I am on my notes here. And the final moments of this one, let's pick it up right where Gunther comes out. Yeah, Gunther comes out. Crowd is annoyed, but you see Gunther is selling his leg, a leg injury, because earlier in the night, AJ Styles, he was working it. He did get a calf crusher applied on that bad boy. So, final grouping, Javon Evans, Cody Rhodes, Logan Paul, Jey Uso, Roman Reigns, Jacob Fatu, Penta, Orton, Gunther. Let's see, from there, we see Penta does his handstand in the corner, and then he gets tossed out by Gunther. That pretty much earns Gunther an RKO. And then it's time for Rhodes and Orton. They try double teaming him. Cody connects with a Cody Cutter. And as he is able to connect this Cody Cutter, Gunther ends up moving out the way, like just in the nick of time. So that cutter ends up being put on Orton. Drew McIntyre runs in to deliver a Claymore kick. Fatu is tossed out, but Uso spears Reigns down. Elimination is reversed, and Uso is out. That pretty much now leaves Roman, Orton, Logan Paul, and then Gunther. Reigns dumps Logan Paul, and Gunther dumps Orton to pretty much get us down to 2. Reigns backdrops Gunther to the apron, blocks the Superman punch, comes back with the sleeper. That gets broken up. And then Roman Reigns connects with a spear, pretty much tosses Gunther out, wins it that way. This was the man moment. It really was. I went in great depth about this again a couple of days ago. and I went on record and I said, look, Roman Reigns does not need a Royal Rumble. Like, he is WrestleMania himself. Okay, to be able to wrestle Roman Reigns on the grandest stage of them all, like, he's a prize in itself. He's almost kind of assumed that Brock Lesnar slash Undertaker role at WrestleMania per se. And I made the argument, a very valid argument at that, which was like he doesn't need to win the Rumble. If anything, you have Roman maybe go through um Elimination Chamber and somehow figure out his path to WrestleMania that way. And for me, just Gunther was just the way to go. Even right down to the point, and you guys that watched, you would have saw me kind of struggling a little bit, which was, well, if you don't give the nod to Gunther, and I said I'm not really that high on Roman, so then the question becomes, okay, so if not Gunther, if not Roman, okay, then who's the other guy that you maybe slide in there that could possibly win it? And I struggled with that one. I could not think of a name for anything. Um, I didn't even want Cody to win. I'll tell you that much. I didn't even want Cody to win, right? I wanted somebody like new to do this. So Gunther definitely was the one I thought was going to win all of this. For those of you that's kind of wondering too, well, what happened with Cody? You didn't mention how Cody essentially got eliminated. Cody was up on the rope shortly after he inadvertently did that Cody Cutter on Randy Orton and all that. Or Cody somehow got caught in between the ropes, and Drew McIntyre came out of nowhere with a fucking Claymore kick from outside the ring, and that pretty much eliminated Cody because he pretty much fell forward out of the ropes and then onto the floor, so he got eliminated that way. And I said, yo, I don't know if you want to run that level of interference in the Rumble because, like, my caution, you got to be careful. You don't want to spam it out too much, and then it's basically a fuckery fest. But WWE decided, no, 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 let's go with Drew McIntyre interfering. So, and it was kind of nice how they did it too, because the way McIntyre connected with this Claymore kick, it was almost as if he was giving a nod to Jacob Fatu. Hey, you kind of helped me win the championship. I just wanted to say, thank you, right? But like, I love that little nod because, as I had mentioned earlier, you gotta still somehow have these guys intertwine with one another. So, and I think it's safe to say, following up from that prediction special, Elimination Chamber is definitely looking to be shaping up like Drew McIntyre defending his championship against Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu. That's exactly how it's looking because those guys can definitely come out and lay claim, yo, we came up so damn short, like, what the hell. Men's Royal Rumble match, though, it was okay. I felt that despite some of the hokey dokey stuff that was going on in the women's Royal Rumble match, to a degree, I felt the women's Royal Rumble match was better from like a storyline. Okay, like this makes sense. Like, okay, who's like the best people we think is gonna win this? Like that all landed when you really take a step back. Even if you thought the women's Royal Rumble match was a little bit mediocre, if you just take a step back and go, well, the vision that I have for this match, did it like go down the way I thought it was exactly going to go down? I think like if we were to poll everybody would be like, yeah, it pretty much went down the way we thought it was going to go down. Even if you didn't expect a Brie Bella or a Kalani Jordan, like it went down pretty much how I thought it was going to go down. The Royal Rumble match for the men's, on the other hand, I mean, there was some good stuff in there, definitely at the beginning, with Femi and everything, looking dominant. Then having the other big names come in, till you got through Lesnar, and then ultimately Lesnar getting eliminated and all that. you could definitely make an argument that it kind of looked like the top stars for the men's Royal Rumble were just getting tossed around a little bit. But I would kind of counter that by saying this was an opportunity to also showcase the new guard that is forthcoming and everything. Um, I think the real problem really came down to like who's the favorite to win this, and Reigns getting the win. It just felt meh. Yeah, I mean that's nice, but it also kind of comes off like a big letdown, you know? I think the best way I can describe Roman Reigns winning the whole thing and all that, it's almost like, and I know this has happened to you guys, you get that phone call or text from your significant other, and they're like, "Hey, I'm I'm bringing home something." "Oh, really? Yeah, you're really gonna love it." And you're like, "What is it?" "Oh, it's a secret, but you're gonna love it." And then you're thinking to yourself, "What the fuck could this be?" And I know for me, like in my particular case, is like, well, if it's not that cat I've always wanted, or if it's not that Alaskan husky I've always wanted, okay, well, it's got to be the next best thing. It's got to be food, because my black ass loves, give me some good pizza or something like, good French fries. Like, okay, it's got to be that. And then instead, it's like, yes, I thought about you, and I got you this. It's like, oh, what is this? And it's just a wooden frame, 8 by 10 wooden frame. Oh, what's so special about this? Like that's what you really want to say, but you're like, oh, it's a wooden frame. Yeah, I thought it'd be good because you had that picture that you had got from a couple of months ago, just laying around. I thought I'd get you this frame so you can put that picture in there and hang it up already. Oh, okay. Well, thank you. That I appreciate that. Thank you. That's how it kind of felt with Roman Reigns. Oh my God, how does that Rolling Stone song goes? You can't always get what you want. I mean, seriously. All right, we got one more match to talk about. SmackDown World Title. Drew McIntyre taking on Sami Zayn. We kind of already spoiled the results earlier there, but Drew McIntyre defeating Sami Zayn. That was 16 minutes and 15 seconds of a match there. Well, I sadly got this one right. If there was any, all things considered, all things considered, they did right with Gunther and AJ. Obviously, the biggest sell should have been Gunther winning the Rumble and then having him come out. I beat the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, definitely a future WWE Hall of Famer, a future TNA Hall of Famer, a future Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer. I beat this guy, and I won the 2026 Men's Royal Rumble in the same night. That would have been great bragging rights, not since Chris Jericho. I beat The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin in the same night to become the undisputed champion. No Chris Jericho, by the way. Do you think at this point he's even WWE bound? We got to create a poll and find out what's going on there. Be very interesting. I know the last poll we had put out, if you bear with me, but I think that there needs to be a revised poll because a lot of people were expecting maybe he was going to be popping up at the Royal Rumble this year, and it sadly did not happen. I want to just poke my head into, and you can see the polling results to yourself. YouTube.com/the RCWR show. Click on the post section, and the poll should be, it's not going to take you that long to find it. Let's see where we are here. I'm just scrolling away here. And hang on. You really got to scroll for this one. I think this was done maybe about a month ago, give or take. But I definitely want to read the results here. Because the majority from that poll felt Chris Jericho was going to be on his way back to the WWE. Here it is. It's from 2 months ago, guys. So we had about 50 people that had cast their vote. Appreciate you guys that voted for this, by the way. Question. So about that Chris Jericho, where do you see him ending up come December? This is December of 2025. So we have 4% of folks that felt he was going to go start his own promotion. 6% felt TNA wrestling, and there was no doubt about it. I get that. You know, you see what he did for AEW and TNT, TBS, Warner Brothers. Why not make lightning strike yet again? But for AMC, I get that. 13% of you said back with AEW, and 77% of you felt WWE. There's no doubt. So now the question becomes, well, damn, if Chris Jericho didn't appear here, then does Chris Jericho maybe appear on the road to WrestleMania, or is he announced as somebody's surprised opponent at this year's WrestleMania, or at this point is he saved for the night after WrestleMania for that Raw After Mania edition on Netflix? Feel free to sound off. I'll definitely create a new poll and put that up there for what it's worth. Drew McIntyre, still our world heavyweight champion. You know, my biggest question, and I hate being wrong right here, because if there was ever that good feel moment, that moment of, you know what, let's just do it already, what better place and time than right here in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, Sami Zayn going over as a world heavyweight champion. I hate being right, but I said to you guys, I'm just not seeing it on this night, but that before 2026 was up, Sami Zayn was definitely going to be a champion. Something was off with this match. I got to be honest with you. It wasn't doing it for me, dog. It just wasn't. Um, you know, Sami Zayn does a really good job in being that underdog that just somehow keeps crawling and fighting. He keeps coming back at you with everything that he has. And I just didn't get that big underdog. Okay, here's that spot. Like Sammy's gonna here. Like I didn't really pick up that vibe at all, or those vibes at all, with the spots that were in there designed for Sammy to really rally with the crowd. And it wasn't like the crowd wasn't in his favor. The crowd was definitely there and everything. Um, it's just weird. It's weird what was going on right here. I kind of look back to what was happening when Sami Zayn and Randy were kind of in the mix of things. Even when Sammy and Cody were kind of, you know, but something was just, it wasn't a bad match. Okay? Hear me on this. What they did tonight was not a bad match, but it didn't quite live up to the hype. And it damn sure didn't help that Drew McIntyre won cleanly in the middle of the ring. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I really feel that there should have been some type of interference in this matchup that just, because stop and think about it. You go back and you think about when Cody and Drew fought Three Stages of Hell, and then you go to Saturday night's main event. Cody and Jacob, you know, they're doing their thing and all that. Drew McIntyre lays them out, all that shit, right? It's just amazing that Cody and Jacob, if there was ever a time to try to extract some type of revenge, it should have been maybe at some point during this match. At least one or both of them should have done something. But instead, both of these men were just somewhere focused on their Rumble match. I wish, and I'll tell you the most simplistic thing that WWE could have done right here to make this all make sense. Before both participants in Sami Zayn and McIntyre came out for their match, there should have been a case where, like, leading up to the match, Nick Aldis, the SmackDown GM, runs into Fatu. Hey, if you interfere in that match between Sami and Drew, telling you right now, your spot in the Rumble, gone. And you're going to be suspended for a week. And I'm going to fine you for $200K. Rinse, repeat, do the same thing with Cody. Like, Cody, I love you, you're my boy, but hey, just like I told Jacob, you run interference, boom, 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 boom. Simple as that. And then the commentators could have been like, hey, if you guys are thinking Jacob and Cody are maybe they've been instructed not to interfere at all, I think that really would have helped. Because now that you ended this in a way where, because Drew McIntyre just Claymore kicked the shit out of Sami Zayn. Cleanly. 1, 2, 3, 16 minutes and change. Drew McIntyre retains. You're like, okay, and yet again, Drew has Sami Zayn's number. And you heard these fun stats about how Drew McIntyre was like 11-0 against Sami Zayn, but like Sami Zayn's undefeated in Saudi Arabia, and it's like, well, no more. So where does Sami Zayn go from here, right? Two things can be said that's true. I just said a few minutes ago, before 2026 is out, Sami Zayn will become a world heavyweight champion, right? They're going to take the long scenic route with this dude, no doubt about it. But you still can't help but ask the question, which I asked a few days ago, well, damn, if you're not going to do it in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, which is just, everything is just so perfectly aligned, then when is the next opportunity? Like, when are you going to do this with Sami? Do you somehow put Sami Zayn in the Elimination Chamber with all these other participants? I mean, you can't really help but wonder. I'm curious to see where they're going to go here with Sami now. I am. Because, yeah. But this was... I've seen better Sami Zayn matches. I've seen better matches involving Sami Zayn that have better chemistry. And there's just something really off with this one. It wasn't a bad match, but like... it felt too SmackDown-ish for me. That's the best way I could sum this up. It felt too SmackDown-ish. And if you get what I mean by that, shout out to you. All right, other than that, overall, this kind of felt like a paint by the numbers kind of Rumble. This really was not shaken up. I felt, definitely we all came up with some really cool ideas, especially looking at the current story arcs of television and just kind of going off of that. A lot of us painted a pretty good Royal Rumble that you could go, yeah, if WWE kind of goes in this route, it's going to be, but it just felt very, let's paint by the numbers. Roman Reigns winning the Rumble. Oh, that's safe. That's good. That'll draw, bounce him around between both shows. Will he pick Punk or will he pick Drew? But then what's going to happen come Elimination Chamber? Who's going to end up being the champion there, right? Cody could possibly walk out and then it's Cody and Roman possibly all over again. Do we really want to see that as fans? Hell no. But you go over to the women's side and okay, they didn't exactly go direct paint by the numbers and going with Tiffany Stratton, but they did go with a proven commodity, a damn good heel in Liv Morgan. Okay, cool. They could have pulled the trigger with Sami Zayn, but they decided for whatever respected reason, let's go the safe route and let's just go with Drew for the retain. And AJ, that pretty much had went down the way we thought it was going to go down. Wasn't a terrible Royal Rumble. But at the same time, what you got? Whole lot of nothing. to the point, let's see how you guys have voted for Royal Rumble this year. Twitter at the RCWR Show, X, Twitter, RCWR Show. Got an interactive poll up there right now. Let's see what you guys are saying. You guys are a little bit all over the place. I see 15% of you are giving Royal Rumble a thumbs up. Again, 15% of you are giving Royal Rumble a thumbs up. Meanwhile, 30% of you are staying in the middle. And top dog right now, 53% of you are giving Royal Rumble a thumbs down. Yeah, I mean, if I'm just thinking about a grade letter and the number scale, my grade letter would be a C, not even a C plus. I'm not even gonna go. I'm gonna go C minus. Actually, yeah, I'm willing to go C minus. That's final. I'm gonna go C minus. Um, yeah, C minus. I can't shake. Favorite match of the night. Definitely AJ and Gunther. Worth the hype, all of that. You know, you kind of conditioned yourself that this was it for AJ, but then to actually see it really play out before your eyes, like, and I love just how symbolic of ending it was as AJ took his gloves off and he was about to leave it in the middle of the ring, but then he reluctantly like picks it back up, and it's almost kind of like, no, I'm not done yet. I'm just done here. It was almost kind of like that was the message that he was sending, per se. So yeah, but favorite match, yeah, I would go with Gunther and AJ Styles. Least favorite match. Least favorite match. A lot of good things that was going right in that men's rumble. You know, least favorite. I would actually go with Sami and Drew. I would actually go with Sami and Drew. If you would have somehow just left that off the card, I would have been okay. Knowing what I know now and how things ended up being, I would have preferred it if somehow Sami got screwed and Sami could have walked out like, because it didn't quite live up to how the match was being hyped up, that Drew McIntyre was going to be willing to do any and everything at all costs to, okay, all right, so this guy's willing to cheat. Okay, gotcha. And the way the finish came about, clean Claymore. I'm even going back to my notes to see if maybe, just maybe, Drew McIntyre had maybe did something behind the referee's back, and there was like some weird shenanigans that was going on or whatever. McIntyre dropped Sami onto the announcer's table, pretty much, take his back out a little bit. Action gets back inside the ring. Sami manages to pull off a Halua kick, but he walked into a Claymore. And then Drew followed up with a second Claymore to knock his ass out that way. So, but yeah, let's get to some of these comments that I'm seeing here in the chat. Shout out to Chris. I wouldn't spend my money for that shitty product. Was a pretty weak Royal Rumble. The potential was there. I think anybody that watched this, there was potential. They could have just a couple of tweaks, and you could have easily gone in the direction of, Triple H is all talk. There's like no bite, oh, big surprises, most talked about ever, yeah. And, Chris thinks ESPN should dump WWE. Look, Chris, I'm not going to lie to you. Fans that do not have access to WWE on ESPN, they would probably welcome that. I know for me personally, here in the United States, we sadly, as YouTube TV customers, we still don't have access to the ESPN Plus. And it's so weird because you guys may recall this if you're a YouTube TV subscriber, but there was talk of, before the end of the year, ESPN Plus will be available for YouTube TV customers. Well, it hasn't happened yet. And now the new talk is, well, at some point before the end of 2026, ESPN Plus will become available for YouTube TV customers at no additional charge. And you're like, okay, yeah, I hear you talking, whatever. So what that mean in the meantime, though? Well, in the meantime, you got to get the hookup essentially through Disney Plus or through ESPN directly if you're trying to get the ESPN hookup, or there's always a VPN or your favorite wrestling streaming site that's always streaming wrestling pay-per-views and all that good stuff if you know where to look and everything. So, yeah, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? That's why in 2026 it's so nice, and I always say this, but it rings so much true now more than ever. If some of what you had saw tonight with the WWE product in the Royal Rumble was a little bit nerve wracking, a little bit frustrating. I mean, my God, man, you got MLW, JCW's been putting out some pretty solid stuff. A couple of cats on there that I love. There's this fine ass thick woman with this curly blonde hair. She got I don't want to go Al Pacino, but she is voluptuous. I think you guys know who I'm talking about. I want to be respectful. She is a female and all. But I'm just going, ooh, show me more of her. Good God almighty. Speaking of pretty big women, by the way, Nia Jax had a pretty good showing in the women's Royal Rumble. I got to give her a lot of credit, man. She has really, really been toning it down with the weight, man. I see you, Nia Jax, trying to get down to that swim suit model figure you was pushing before you got into the wrestling. I see you. See here, Mustafa. If Roman picks Drew, then what's next for Punk? Finn attacked Punk last Raw, and I'm pretty sure the guy that attacked Braun was Finn because he was moving a lot like Finn. That would be interesting. Finn was the one that attacked Braun Breaker, is what you're saying? Huh. Finn attacks Braun. Huh. Finn attacks Braun to continue the. You know what, Mustafa? I like the way you're thinking, my friend. I like the way you're thinking because what better way to secure a shot at CM Punk's World Heavyweight Championship by continuing to stir the pot of controversy there involving Adam Pearce? You already had Adam Pearce put his hands on Braun Breaker, on Paul Heyman, right? All that, the damn suspension. Yeah. And then you follow that up with the Royal Rumble lottery. Yeah. Finn adds more salt to the wound by attacking Braun, making it look like Adam Pearce called in a couple of favors or whatever. Pearce essentially having to explain himself, all that good stuff. Punk is already focused on Balor. Does that mean Punk and Balor go at it at Elimination Chamber? Could be. It could be a case where they go at it at Elimination Chamber. And now that you have Roman as the winner of the Rumble, does Roman go after Punk? Or does he go after Drew? I like where you're going there. If Roman picks Drew, then what's next for Punk? See, here's the thing. I think in regards to Roman making his decision, I don't think Roman's going to make his decision not until after Elimination Chamber is over and done with. I think that's when Roman will finally decide. I think for now, Roman's just going to bounce around for the next couple of weeks between the shows, honestly. But I like where you're going with that whole Finn Balor being the one responsible. Somebody commented earlier, Austin Theory was the one that attacked. I'm not quite buying that one. I'm not in on that one, but I do like this idea here. Mustafa says something about he already did at post show event, and probably do promos leading up to Chamber. Okay. Drew gaslighting Roman to pick him for Mania as he holds the number one title. Okay, so Mustafa's giving us a little bit of insight what happened with the post show and all that. Don't worry about the post show, folks. Because what I like to do when it comes to those post shows that they do, I like watching those things once the event is over, and then I take my notes and all that, and kind of go from there. But that was kind of noteworthy. I do appreciate you mentioning just some of those things. Yeah, and I mean, Drew probably would. Look, Drew gaslighting Roman Reigns, this is what makes Drew so damn good as a heel. He just has a way of taking that needle and just threading into various other characters, rivalries, and all of that. He's so fucking good at it, man. Let's see here. Jay, Gunther versus Randy Orton, the new Legend Killer versus the original Legend Killer could be a good story to tell that. Yeah, under the right circumstances. Under the right circumstances, if they do that, that would be a really good match down the road. By the way, speaking of Gunther, you probably all had heard about this match, but apparently WWE, they finally released it from the vault. There is this match that like I kept hearing a lot of good things about, but like it never aired between Gunther and Cesaro. And WWE, like earlier this week, they finally released it. It's up on their Vault channel on YouTube. So, want a damn good match to check out? There you go. I loved every fucking minute of it. I'll talk a lot more about it on Monday. But yeah, under the right circumstances, I would love to see Gunther and Randy Orton go at it. Let's see what else we got here. Are we caught up? I think we're caught up. Let's see here. Let me check out the polling results one more time, see how that is looking for what you guys are saying about the Royal Rumble overall. Bear with me a second here. Want to check out the latest results. Yeah, still holding steady. Nothing has changed. Top dog right now, 53% are giving the Royal Rumble a thumbs down. I'm going to read a couple of more comments here before we get ready to wrap it up here. Just checking out some comments. Give me the latest. Let's see here. Try to filter this and look for the latest. Some people already asking, where was Bianca Belair? She was my pick to win the whole thing. Yeah, shout out to Danny Dominis. Oh, good Lord. They brought back the other Bella. Yawn. I hear you. I hear you on that one. I hear you on that one. All right, let's see what else we got here. Shout out to VAM. 8 out of 10. Oba Femi or Jacob Fatu gets a massive elimination streak early. As newer powerhouse entrants, one of these bloodline adjacent beasts starts high, maybe one or two, racks up +5 eliminations. Okay, cool. Rap said before the Royal Rumble, I had no clue who would win the women's or men, but if they took a chance, I said So Ruka or Big Sexy and Obafemi or Breaker. Yeah, well, they pretty much went in none of those directions. Raps goes on to say, they proceeded to have Liv Morgan eliminate everyone, and Logan Paul survived longer than Obafemi and LA Knight. That was some straight up bullshit. That was. I think they did what they did with Logan Paul solely for the sole purpose of just the amount of a following that he has on social media, right? I think that's all that was ultimately about. Option C said, this was Royal Rumble. Everyone you love gets shot on camera edition. I went with hope for Cody, hope for Randy, hope for Sami to finally get a big match W. AJ as, okay, at least I get to enjoy his last year. Luchadors to be fun, bright. Knight as my fuck you, Cathras button. And the show basically replied, cool story. Here's Liv, Roach, part timer, spreadsheet, and a massacre. AJ losing, Sammy losing, Cody screwed by a guy who wasn't even in the match, Knight and Orton tossed, my beloved boys from the Lucha side treated like expendable non-playable characters, and then Roman, a man who clocks in a couple of times a year, standing tall over the rubble. That's not just my darlings won tonight. That's the show entire emotional spine is. Look how small and breakable you guys are. Fuck this shit. I'm out. Have a nice day, y'all. Good God Almighty, how you really feel? Option, how you really feel? Oh God. FP Roman wins his first Royal Rumble in 11 years, and y'all cry. Harry feels that Triple H has a weird fetish for Gunther. He's getting concerned for Stephanie. Let's see. Ray says, worst Royal Rumble of all time. WWE has become simply awful. Read a couple of more of these. Oh Lord, again. Triple H has said this because he said this before. I hope you guys aren't drinking the Kool-Aid. Apparently, during the Royal Rumble post show, Triple H claimed that tonight is the start of a new era. Dude, we heard you say that like already. Like, what the hell, dude? Shout out to Marvin who calls out Triple H on his bullshit. He says he always comes out with the same line every single PLE. The guy's as lost as he is bald. Come on, damn. I'm trying to see if I can find some positive things that can be said, but like, if it looks kind of remotely interesting, I'm just going for it. But I'll try to for a positive joint, at least throw a positive one in there. That would have been nice. I would now see of all the AAA people that they had, how come they didn't put Pimpinella in there? I would have loved to seen them float around in there. That would have been very interesting. Okay, we found a positive for the Royal Rumble. Greg says, "Damn, the one time I thought the show was good, everybody hates it. Such is life." Laugh out loud. Somebody has up a really good picture of this maxed person. It looks pretty funny. I mean, even he's even got mascara around his eyes, kind of like a broke ass Batman. Wow, I wonder who that is. Whoever it is, they look to be clean shaven. Like I don't even see any stubble. Kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. A couple more comments here. Shout out to V Rock. The end of AJ Styles versus Gunther was shit. The surprises in the Rumble were Brie Bella, Mr. Iguana, and LA Parka. Yeah, marinate on that for a few ticks. They leave Finn Balor out just to force Gunther in. A part time winner, or correction, a part timer wins the Royal Rumble. What else you got to say here? And that pretty much was it. I thought there was a little bit more, but that was it. Let's see. I'll read two more for you guys. Shout out to Slick. It was the worst Royal Rumble of the last 20 years. Soulless, no crowd energy, terribly booked. The women's Rumble was boring. The Gunther versus Styles match had zero momentum from the crowd, obviously, with so few people there. And the Sami versus McIntyre match was mind numbing, boring as fuck. I'll give a positive. I love the ESPN little scoreboard lower third that they provided that showed you like when an elimination happened, who eliminated who. You got to see the number of active Rumble participants, the number of eliminations, what entrant was coming up next. All that was pretty good. And they even showed you like if somebody was having a hot streak of eliminations, they showed you that person's name and the number of eliminations that they had. So there's a positive right there. Two more. I'll read two more for you. Keegan says, strictly from a fan's perspective, that Rumble felt so lifeless. Why would you have Gunther retire AJ, then in the same night put him in another match and beat him? Am I missing something? You're not missing anything at all. Shout out to WP. Enjoyed Royal Rumble overall, but the ending felt flat. Women's Rumble was fun. Liv turning on Raquel ruled. AJ Gunther stole the night. Sami Drew was fine. Men's Royal Rumble started hot and then fell apart. Bad eliminations. Roman win was meh. Wish they'd better utilize younger talent. They did showcase the hell out of, which we already had talked about, but I respect where WP is coming from. Very interesting, though, that they had Royce Keys, Powerhouse Hobbs. I will say, interesting that they had him debut on the Royal Rumble, and you're just going, well, damn. And you would just imagine that this guy is probably going to run around between all three brands for the next couple of weeks before he, you know, I'm curious to see if he's just going to stick to the main roster or if they're going to let this guy do his thing at the Performance Center while also doing some stuff down in NXT. I don't know. I would think based on the reactions that he had received here tonight, maybe you kind of want to do something. Maybe you kind of want to do something. Uh, that's- hmm. If I'm WWE, let's see what happens when he gets in front of that Philadelphia crowd on Monday. Assuming his calendar is clear and all that, let's see what happens with him on Monday. Kind of reaction he gets. Maybe you can put him in a Raw match, just kind of get some type of a reaction or gauge the crowd, and then kind of take it from there. Let's see here. Just seeing if there's any more reactions. I think we're kind of okay. One more for you guys. Shout out to Chronic. Chronic says no Jericho. Another Max Man moment. No surprises. Another Gunther win. These former AEW stars getting buried in the Rumble. Seats be empty regardless of the lights. Great Rumble ever. Am I right? I, I was trying on a really good positive note. Okay, here you go. J Man said, I really enjoyed watching the Royal Rumble in a theater today. Well, good for him. There you go. We can end it on that note. I know it was playing at some theaters. I actually had started to take advantage of that. The only thing is I didn't have anybody to go with. Like all my friends were busy. I couldn't take family because they were tied up with either work or had some errands to run. So I was flying solo on that one. All right, hey, quick programming notes. Right, so next edition of the RCWR show, we're going to be coming at you live on Monday, February 2nd. 2026, minutes removed after WWE Raw on Netflix goes off the air. Join me for that. We'll get into Royal Rumble Fallout as the road to WrestleMania continues on. We got Elimination Chamber coming up in a couple of weeks. As y'all know, that's the last pit stop before WrestleMania. We'll also get into the very latest in headlines. We already teased earlier. We're definitely going to circle back, talk more about that whole R-Truth Triple H situation that played out on WWE Unreal, because it's just amazing to watch how it's just taken this whole new life of its own and all that. There's a lot of stuff we'll get into as well. I want you to be kind, rewind, check out previous episodes you might have missed on demand and on the downloads. Wherever you get your podcast, just search the RCWR show. If you enjoyed this episode, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit the likes, share, retweet, all that jazz. Give me a follow all throughout social media as well. YouTube, Twitter /X, Facebook. Use the keywords, the RCWR show. Shout out to longtime listeners and supporters of the show and our sponsors as well, as content like what you're checking out right now would not be made possible. Till next go round, my pretty babies. Sound off. Let me know if you haven't commented yet what you thought about tonight's or this weekend's Royal Rumble event. Love to hear from you. Do you agree with what a lot of the people had said here, their responses to the event, or are you going in a different direction? Sound off, let us know. I will catch you guys Monday night for the Raw post show. Take care.